Hi everybody, my name is John Hantz and I'm your trusted family financial advisor. Thanks for joining our webinar about Bitcoin. At Hantz Financial, we host webinars on various financial planning topics. Everything from protecting yourself against cyber threats to the estate planning process and maximizing your 401k. These webinars are designed to help you create more wealth for yourself and your family. When our clients do better, we do better. In presenting these seminars, I aim to educate and inform our clients about important financial topics. My motto is, when you are better informed, you make better decisions. Today's webinar aims to educate you about Bitcoin. We will discuss what Bitcoin is, how people own it, as well as the risks and rewards of using Bitcoin. For those of you joining that don't know much about me, I'm the president of Hantz Financial. I'm a lifelong resident of Minneapolis. I went to high school at Totino Grace High School in Fridley, go Eagles, and graduated from the University of Minnesota with a degree in economics. That would be go Gophers. I'm a certified financial planner professional. I have 2 sons. I like to travel. One of my favorite places is Peru. At Hantz Financial, we help our clients create financial plans. The financial planning process is the foundation of how we assist our clients in building wealth. That means being intentional about your future. It's a great feeling to help clients reach the financial goals they set out for themselves. We help clients gain independence, confidence, and dignity through investing. At Hantz Financial, we specialize in working with families to help them maximize their wealth possibilities. I also want to point out that we cannot do what we do for you, our clients, without a dedicated team of professionals. To that end, I want to introduce you to several important people on my team. You'll find them to be very useful. Myxee Yang Safer, that's Myxee, handles all client service items. If you have a question about your statements or need to reset a password, she's the person you should talk to. Evan Kay is my relationship manager. He's knowledgeable about all clients here at Hantz Financial and has control of my calendar. Evan is proficient at financial planning. My team is dedicated to serving you, clients of Hantz Financial. Our goal is great communication. We have a team meeting every day to discuss current events. If Evan or Myxee contacts you, you can be sure I ask them to call, so please take their call. While it's important to stress that past results do not guarantee future returns, the rapid rise of Bitcoin over the past few years has made it one of the most popular, headline-grabbing topics in the global financial markets. Fear of missing out is a powerful force in investing. It is particularly difficult to ignore an asset that has gained more than 900% in the past 5 years. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have captured the imagination of investors, rising to become a more accepted and influential asset class. To be sure, there still are critics who argue that the crypto craze is a passing fad, but these days there are fewer and fewer people in that camp, especially when it comes to the original and largest and most influential crypto, Bitcoin. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is by far the most popular variation among a class of assets designed to create a digital currency through advanced cryptography. Others include Ethereum, Tether, and Ripple. And unlike traditional currencies, Bitcoin operates without central authority or banks and is not backed by any government. Bitcoin traces its roots to 2008 when an anonymous programmer published a white paper outlining the technology necessary to enable the cryptocurrency. Crucially, the paper described the process of mining, which creates a supply of new Bitcoins. Bitcoins are mined using computer algorithms that solve a series of calculations. These time-consuming computations verify Bitcoins and allow for the creation of new ones. Only 21 million Bitcoins can be mined, and they become more time-consuming to create as the supply grows. Approximately 1.5 million Bitcoin remain to be discovered. Interestingly, it's estimated that 3.8 million Bitcoin have been lost because people lost their credentials to get into their account. This all means that there is a limited supply of Bitcoin. Unlike US dollars, where the government keeps increasing the supply by printing more. The cryptocurrency market can be summed up in two words: extreme volatility. Various cryptocurrencies can move violently based on real news or simply wild rumors. Bitcoin gets the most headlines primarily because it has the largest market capitalization at roughly 1.9 trillion. Bitcoin tends to garner a lot of attention every time it has a steep run-up in value. And the most recent Bitcoin price surge came after the US elections in November. For the first time in its relatively short history, the price skyrocketed above 100,000 per Bitcoin on investor hopes that the incoming Trump administration would take a business-friendly approach to the cryptocurrency industry. And this has turned out to be true. The Trump administration has discontinued lawsuits targeting the crypto industry. As of September 4th, Bitcoin was trading at approximately 110,000 per coin. The debate over Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency craze it has spawned runs the gamut from advocates who see it as the future of finance to skeptics who compare it to a classic pyramid scheme. As the arguments intensify, so have the stakes. The market capitalization of the crypto universe has increased from roughly 200 billion in 2019 to more than 2.2 trillion at the end of 2021. That's a huge increase. The advantages and disadvantages of Bitcoin. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And we start with maybe the toughest question of all, and that is, given Bitcoin's volatility, how can investors determine a reasonable price for it? Bitcoin's valuation is a real paradox. On the one hand, it's an asset that can never produce earnings, and like all assets that can never produce earnings, it has an intrinsic value of zero. Anything that can't produce earnings is only worth what other people are willing to pay for it. And so, in a sense, the valuation is completely arbitrary. There are unique properties of Bitcoin that could be universally interesting to anyone who interacts with money. No one can create any more of it. There will always be a supply cap of 21 million Bitcoins. So no person or government can dilute your position by printing more. Bitcoin is the only form of money that can't be censored. It's available for use by anyone with an internet connection, and no one can stop you from sending or receiving a transaction. It's hard to confiscate. Your Bitcoin is really just a password. You can carry it around in your head or write it down and take it with you across any border in the world. Unlike the money in your checking account, it can't be confiscated by the government or creditors. I should point out that losing your password could mean a complete loss of your cryptocurrency, however. One thing I think that is interesting is half of the world's population lives under authoritarian regimes that can block them from using the money system or remove money directly from their bank accounts. So I think there's a tremendous appeal to this type of asset. There's roughly 600 trillion in wealth in the world. If Bitcoin gains a larger share of that, the price can go up a lot. Some put Bitcoin in the same category as fine art and fancy violins. You can always question the valuation, but the scarcity of those items is genuine. Whereas the scarcity of Bitcoin is artificial. Someone just made it up. The price of Bitcoin is set by financial markets, by people who are buying it solely because they think other people will pay more for it in the future. That sounds a lot like a pyramid scheme to me. And the financial markets don't need Bitcoin, but Bitcoin needs the financial markets. People can make a lot of money and they can lose a lot of money, but putting an intellectual framework around Bitcoin's valuation is almost impossible. Is Bitcoin an effective hedge against inflation? If you look around the world, there's about 100 trillion of assets held in various forms of cash. And I'm talking about dollars, euros, yen, whatever. All of it is essentially losing purchasing power over time because their governments tend to print more of what we call fiat currency, which is just based on the faith and credit of that government. And these governments print more currency faster than their economy grows. Some people will look at their cash holdings and think it would be nice to own something that can hold its value or go up over time. They're going to look at their cash holdings and wonder why they are losing purchasing power in their fiat currency. And the answer, again, is money printing. And some percentage of them will come to Bitcoin because it is the only form of money in human history where you can't change the monetary policy and you can't print more. So what's the risk that governments will ban Bitcoin? I think there's a very real risk that governments will eventually decide to ban Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies or severely restrict their use. We've already seen it happen in China, and it could happen elsewhere if governments feel like they are losing control of the financial system. I agree that some governments might try to ban Bitcoin. I view this as the biggest potential headwind to adoption. I don't think governments can extinguish Bitcoin, and attempts to ban it might accelerate adoption by people who are already skeptical of heavy-handed government intervention. And Bitcoin was designed with a decentralized architecture, precisely to prevent anyone from being able to control the future of the system. And that includes governments. Bitcoin operates outside government boundaries, and I don't think it could be banned. Although such a move by the US or the European Union would certainly hurt the prices of Bitcoin in the short term. Over the long term, however, it could cause demand for Bitcoin to skyrocket. So will Bitcoin eventually fall prey to competition from other digital currencies? Bitcoin is built on open source software, so anyone can make a copy of it, change a few variables, and launch a new type of coin. That experiment has taken place literally thousands of times, however. So every person who holds Bitcoin now has had thousands of opportunities to sell it and buy some other cryptocurrency. Perhaps one with a higher supply cap than 21 million, or a faster method to process new transactions or new coins out of the Ethernet. What I find interesting is that so far Bitcoin owners have considered these options to diversify, yet an overwhelming majority have said no. So I think Bitcoin will likely survive in the same fundamental form that it exists in today. It has seen plenty of competition over the past decades, but still remains the king of cryptocurrencies. Now let's compare Bitcoin to some other maybe comparable assets, and that might be versus gold or silver. Gold and silver are tangible. You can hold it and you can touch it, but if you do hold them, you have to protect them. You must put them in a safe location or they can be stolen or lost. If you travel and you decide to bring your gold or silver with you, it will be difficult to travel with. It's also difficult to transact in. I mean, do you just cut off a sliver and exchange it for something in whatever country or place you go to? Let's just say, for instance, you were an immigrant traveling around the world to a new country. The last thing you probably would bring is the currency from your home country or physical gold or silver. It would be very inefficient. But if you own Bitcoin, it's easy to travel with because all you need is a password. You can easily exchange it for the local currency wherever you're at. So, how do you own Bitcoin? You can use a cryptocurrency exchange. Most people will be unable to purchase an entire Bitcoin, but you can buy portions of one Bitcoin in most exchanges by using your dollars or some other form of fiat currency. You can also purchase it with a credit card or debit card. Something I should point out is that digital storage locations, like a e-storage wallet, may not be regulated or held under a security standard similar to a bank or investment account. This is really important. You cannot own Bitcoin in an IRA. Only an ETF, it's a kind of a mutual fund, is permitted. And you have to remember your password. If you lose it, you may not be able to recover your Bitcoin. Payment apps. You can purchase cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, right in your payment apps like Venmo or PayPal. You can make the purchase with Apple Pay or an ACH from your bank. Another way you can hold it is through a Bitcoin-based ETF, which I already mentioned. And ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. Imagine a mutual fund that owns stock, but instead of stock, it holds Bitcoin. The benefits of a brokerage account is that it's protected by SIPC, Securities Investor Protection Corporation. This protects investors' cash and securities if their brokerage firm fails financially. Any taxable gains that are generated as a result of transactions in the ETF flow through the mutual fund like any other investment would, and this means that the brokerage account sends you a 1099 yearly so you can easily file your taxes. An ETF enables investors to get exposure to Bitcoin through the convenience of an exchange-traded product, helping remove the operational, tax, and custody complexities of holding Bitcoin directly in an e-wallet, for instance. Liquidity. Another good point is that ETFs are easy to buy and sell. So if you want to get out of your ETF and sell your crypto, it's easy to do. An IRA that is held in a brokerage account can hold a Bitcoin ETF, which is great. And this means that you can own Bitcoin in your IRA. So just in closing, I hope you enjoyed the presentation and you learned more about Bitcoin. Today we discussed Bitcoin, what Bitcoin is, and how it came about. We also discussed how you own it and some of the risks and rewards of owning it. I believe Bitcoin will continue to be an alternative to fiat currencies like the dollar. I leave you with a final thought. The United States has $37.5 trillion in debt and only $30 trillion in economic output. The interest on our debt is almost $1 trillion per year. It seems the only way out of our debt situation is by printing more money. That's why I continue to think that Bitcoin is a great alternative. Glad to see you. Take care.